Hello and welcome to the Sunday League Pundit Show, episode 40. We have a very, very special guest with us this week. We are joined by Craig, who is an Everton fan, but also has a lot to do with our local side, Stafford Rangers. So welcome, Craig. How are you?
Cheers. Good, Dick. Thanks for having me.
You're very, very welcome. We have had Shane on, as you know, from the JRI, Junior Rangers Initiative, where the lads do all the interviews, and we have mentioned this a couple of times. We will link their socials down below again. Absolutely love them. But obviously we had a chat with you as well when we came to the Stafford v Mac game that we attended last season.
Yeah, which we sadly lost.
Yeah, it was. It wasn't as one-sided
as
I thought it was going to be, and we got quite lucky really because our keeper played really well that day.
He made a few good saves.
And he made a few good saves, certainly in the first half. And obviously we are still joined by our regular Jim Jam. How are you?
I'm not too bad.
And there is one missing, which nobody on YouTube will notice because he's never on camera anyway.
No.
Tin Ribs. I know he's listening, hiding himself.
Yeah.
He's literally hiding himself this week. So, have we got a Jim Jam, the Statman stat, please?
Of course we have. So, last week we went into talking about who the next England manager is going to be, and we want him to be English.
Yes.
And there's a good reason. We're going into the World Cup.
Mm-hmm.
No nation has ever won a World Cup with a foreign manager. Ever.
Didn't know that.
What a stat.
That's not a bad stat, actually, that.
And the Euros...
I'm shocked about that, actually. I'm quite...
I saw it, did the research. It is true.
Wow.
And the Euros has only ever been won once by a foreign manager.
Wow.
What team do you reckon it was?
Just trying to think now.
Someone completely random now.
France team. Do you know who I reckon it was? The Euros?
Yeah.
Was it early 2000s?
Yeah.
I reckon it was Greece.
It was. It was
Of
Greece.
course, yeah,
It's
Greece.
got to be. France is going to have French.
Yeah,
Portugal's going to be Portuguese. Spain is going to be Spanish.
Yeah, it was a German manager. And it's the only ever time. And I thought that was
I'm proud I got that right, actually. I'm quite happy about that. Right.
So the FA, that is why you need to employ Eddie Howe and Eddie Howe only.
Yeah,
otherwise we're not going to win a World Cup.
Eddie Howe was all... Who's your first choice for New England manager?
Next England manager. You're probably going to dislike me because I wouldn't stick with an English man, although now listening to Jim Jam stat there, maybe I should. But, you know, before the World Cup started, I said how great we'd be with Sean Dyche as a defensive coach and Jurgen Klopp as an attacking coach. And because, you know, I mean, on Merseyside for the last season, Everton were one of the highest clean sheets kept, and Liverpool have always got this attacking style of play that when they're on the ball they're so fluid and so quick, and yeah, a combination of them two would be great. But Sean Dyche, obviously I'm an Everton fan, I think someone like him already Howe does deserve a shot at it, and I think
my options last week when we were talking about it was my first choice was Eddie Howe and my second choice was Sean Dyche, which nobody else agreed with me on, but there you go. I would like to correct an error we made as well actually last week, because we pointed out that Gareth Southgate was the highest paid international manager. That is not correct. Because I've checked up on that, and it turns out he was the second highest paid at $5 million a year. I don't know where I've put the actual thing now. I'm not sure if I've written it down. But there was a guy who's managing Saudi. Who is it now? Who's managing Saudi?
I have no idea.
I can't remember who it was. I thought I'd written it down. It doesn't look as though I have, which is a little upsetting. But yeah, the guy that's managing Saudi is actually on $25 million a year, which works out to £18.75 million a year.
So just slightly dwarfing Gareth.
Roberto Mancini. There you go. It's just come to me. Roberto Mancini is on £18.75 million sterling per year. So yeah, he was on basically 4 times what Southgate was on. So Southgate was only the second, but he was dwarfed by the guy that is earning the most.
Yeah, I'm sure the expectations won't quite be the same, though. I don't think Saudi Arabia are going to be...
because we got slagged off on one of the shorts when we were talking about it. Going, Southgate's not the highest paid manager. And I'm like, we didn't say that. We said he was the highest paid international manager, to which he still shot me down. And I'm like, I'm going to have to check this up. Turns out he was right and I wasn't. So I felt like a bit of a twat afterwards, so I thought I'd correct it in this week's episode. Yeah. So he was the second highest paid, and I'm still glad he's gone.
But I'm pretty sure you're not going to put that as a short, saying that you're wrong.
No, I'll put that as a short. I don't mind being wrong. Tim Ribs doesn't like being wrong. But I'm okay with it.
You thought he'd be used to it, though.
He should be used to it because he's wrong most of the time, but there you go. It seems like a good place to play the music. Hello, and welcome to episode 40. Thank you very much for joining us. I wanted to start this week by talking about some club finances, because I did a lot of digging and a lot of research knowing that you were coming, Craig. So I do apologise, but because you're Everton and because they're in a bit of trouble, and obviously we know City are in a bit of hot water, albeit they're trying to hide theirs and you weren't, I decided to go into what clubs have got what sort of debt, how much they're paying back, and whether or not they can afford it. Now, it turns out that there are 4 clubs in the Premier League with 0 debt. Any ideas?
0 debt.
4 clubs with no debt whatsoever.
Interesting.
One should be pretty obvious.
This would be City. Surely they haven't got any debt.
Not City. It is someone that's recently been taken over.
Oh, Newcastle, of course.
Newcastle got no debt. Chelsea, believe it or not, got no debt.
I had a feeling Chelsea were one, though.
Villa
as well.
got no debt.
It's going to be like a Brentford or something.
Not a million miles away.
Bournemouth.
Fulham,
Fulham.
0 debt. Right, so the least debt, I'm not going to go through them all because it take ages, but the least debt is Luton. I know they've gone now, but obviously I couldn't go on this year's stats because they hadn't fully updated it yet. So last season, Luton with £13.9 million worth of debt, and they're paying £0.5 million a year back to cover their debt.
Yeah.
Now, top 5. So in 5th place is Brighton, £293 million worth of debt, and they're paying back £12.2 million a year. In 4th, City. Heavy question mark over Cities, I will be honest, because of the financial fair play or unfair play, depending on which way you look at it and which way the thing goes. They're paying back 18.9. Man United, £651 million of debt, and they're paying 21.5 back per year. Spurs are in 2nd, believe it or not. I imagine because of the new stadium. £677 million worth of debt. £28.2 million a year back. So the club with the biggest debt, and boy oh boy is it a debt. So 677 was Spurs. Everton are in £1 billion worth of debt. They've got to pay £34.8 million back a year. You've twice had a potential takeover.
Yep.
Go to, I can't remember the name of it, but it's basically
almost 777, wasn't it?
Yeah, 777 was the first one, wasn't it?
Yeah. Which
and then was it Green King or somebody?
The Free King Group.
Free
which is Dan Freakin who owns
something
Roma.
like that. And they've both gone to exclusivity rights and both backed out, which suggests strongly that there is something wrong with your finances. Because if they've been given exclusivity, it's at that point they get all your finances and they go, here's all our skeletons, this is what you're buying. And twice people have backed out at that point, which suggests that there's something not quite right at Everton. I think, because you had Usmanov from Arsenal, didn't you?
No, we had Farhad Mashiri from Arsenal, who was Usmanov's business partner. So Mashiri...
I thought Usmanov was with him, you see.
No, so it wasn't official that he was anything to do with Everton.
Because when he started, he was still at Arsenal, wasn't he, Usmanov?
Yeah, but he put money into our training ground, which was in the USM trade. So everything was going under his branding. The new stadium would have been branded out with one of his companies. And unfortunately, obviously, when the war with Iraq started, Roman Abramovich, as we know, left Chelsea. Usmanov was in a similar situation.
Say left.
Yeah.
More hounded out, really.
Yeah.
I'm not going to get into whether that was right or wrong because it's politics and it's not really any of my business. But yeah, you're in the most amount of debt. You've had 2 companies that have gone to exclusivity and both have backed out. How are you feeling about Everton, your finances, and your future?
There's always a little worry at the back, particularly after what happened with the last takeover with the Free King Group. Because fans wanted that one to happen. What you need to understand is not a single Everton fan wanted 777 to take over the club. if you know, 777 already own a number of clubs across Europe. Most of those clubs are struggling massively, either in debt or they've gone through relegations or even struggles. Sevilla are a classic example, who were fighting at the bottom of La Liga for most of last season. They're one of the clubs
I
that
didn't
they
know they
own.
were owned by
I didn't know that.
777.
They also own Standard Liège in Belgium, and Liège fans have been rioting at games in protest of 777. And so a lot of Everton fans have seen all of this during that period of exclusivity, and even before, when the one of the main business partners of 777 was going in to those exclusivity rights, and he was attending games. So yeah, he was a public figure there, and he wanted to show that. But I got very similar vibes of if you remember the Notts County story of when Sven-Göran Eriksson was going to manage them, and they were getting taken over by this guy who had absolutely no money. 777 have been reliant upon investors to put money into them. Now, don't get me wrong, there's been £400 million in debt lent to Everton to see us through to the end of last season. These sourced from 777, and I think it was it was MSM, but either way, that had to keep the club afloat whilst we potentially were bought out by this company no fan wanted, but it kept extending, and it was always looking like it was going to fail. And we knew there was already other interest from other groups, and a couple of Everton fans had come forward.
So, sorry to interject,
Yeah,
but
sure.
from the little bit you've told us so far, from my understanding from what you've just said, is not only have Everton got debts, but they've now got extra debt of nearly £500 million
Yeah,
to a company that was going to take over and now isn't.
correct.
Surely that's going to make things more complicated.
Well, this is where the issue lies now with the Freaking Group and why they pulled out of the
That
deal.
makes more sense as to why the second one's backed out.
So they backed out. They obviously entered talks with a view to make it again one of these global kind of club things like the City Group.
That's what they're all doing now,
Yeah.
isn't it?
So Dan Freaking owns Roma, and we've got a friendly with Roma next week or the week after, I think, which was already set up when we were in these talks, and there was again talk of loaning players between clubs and things like that. As soon as he'd seen, I think the main reason that he'd pulled out and what he'd seen behind the money that was happening to keep Everton afloat, but also 777 are embroiled in a huge legal case at the moment in America, and whilst they're embroiled in that, the money, what's going on with the money that they lent the company, Dan Freaking's not able to press on and take over the club how he would have wanted to. So we're in a bit of limbo at the moment, and we need to find an owner that is happy to work with 777 to resolve the issues. But the new stadium does bring an attractive proposition to owners. The fact that we're a Premier League club does bring a attractive proposition. What we need to do though is, and this is what again you'll struggle to find an Everton fan, is we need to trust Farhad Moshiri to find the right person to sell the club to.
Your issue is he just wants out.
And he wants money
He does.
as well, doesn't he?
Yeah, but is he? If somebody just comes along and goes, "If that's what you want, I'll pay it," is he really going to do due diligence, or is he just going to go, oh, "Thanks, I'm out"?
I think it's getting to a point now where he doesn't care, and he does want to be out there. It's been a hostile environment, Goodison Park, for a long time.
Are you concerned that you could go under?
Last season I was particularly, especially when it looked like it was going to be 777. But even before that, and seeing how we were, I joke amongst friends saying Stafford Rangers will be playing them in the MPL West next season. And it is a scary thought that administration could loom, and you only have to look at what's happened to Bordeaux recently with the relegations, the loss of finance. And Everton, they're a historical club. Okay, we haven't won anything since 1995 as well.
Like finances
hear
don't
plenty
care
of
about
times.
size or
No.
history or
Exactly.
length of club or size of fan base.
Yeah.
Finances just don't care. And
you've
if
seen
them finances go, then the law will wind you up. It's
clubs
as simple
like
as that.
Leeds,
I mean,
Sheffield
Macclesfield went
Wednesday,
out.
Southampton, they've been down like League One, and really struggled, and some sides haven't been able to get straight back out at the first time of asking. But they're clubs that I remember from being top flight sides as a kid, and it's really sad to see that happening. But when it's your own club, you really feel this like sickness that if this, what happens if this really happens? Is that going to be a big white elephant of a stadium on the Mersey?
Maybe, but the thing is,
You're not going to be playing in the MPL with a bloody
It's Widnes get away with it.
60,000 seat stadium or
Yeah.
whatever, 70,000 seat stadium. It's going to be insane, isn't it?
I mean, what did Southampton was new stadium, because you put so much money into the new stadium, but you're not investing in the players.
Well, look at
Because that's what
Arsene
you've
Wenger
had
and
to do
Arsenal.
last
How
year.
much crap did Wenger get for not spending 80, 90,
Yeah.
100 million pound on players when we're meant to be
Yeah.
paying 20 million pound a year back for a 800 million pound stadium, and he's paying like 140 million pound a year back because he wanted the stadium paid off. He wanted Arsenal to own the stadium, but the amount of crap he got for not buying expensive players, yet we were still top four every year.
But
and
again,
now look at us, we'd have cried for that a couple of years ago.
And again, over the last few seasons, obviously, we've had to sell players to comply with what was FFP and now PSR rules. So players like Anthony Gordon leaving the club. Obviously, Richarlison was a big one as well. But the strange thing is, we're at the minute where it's public that we are in a safe position financially.
Yeah, you're fighting over Branthwaite at the minute, by all accounts.
It doesn't look like he's going to leave the club. I mean, we've just agreed
I
to
think
sign.
we need him next season.
Well, we've just agreed to sign
he's
Jake
great.
O'Brien from Lyon, ex-Crystal Palace centre-back. And we've signed a lad from Lindstrom from Napoli. He was at the Euros, I think, with Denmark. And
I Googled him. He looks pretty good.
He didn't score last season in 22, which kind of worried me when I looked.
No, but he looks decent, though. He looks like a team player.
He does, yeah.
He looks. I mean, it's a YouTube footballer, isn't it? So I've never seen him for 90 minutes running around a pitch. But I Googled him, and adequate. I thought, I'm just bored at work. I was curious. And some of his clips, he looks like a decent player.
Dyche player again, I think, though, who'll work hard and bring that he wants. And so I mean, we've going out signing these players, and it's like, as fans, and you're thinking, well, hang on, you hear the alarm bells when you look at mainstream media and things, Sky Sports and the Daily Mail seem to always hammer it in for Everton. We could have a whole podcast on them, but it's it can be worrying for certain fans who see that. But then when you look at everything else, and the club are coming out saying, no, we're in this position. So a media person well connected with the club, Alan Myers, said yesterday that Jake O'Brien isn't a replacement for Jared Branthwaite. We've obviously looking to offer him a new deal, and hopefully there's a resolution to that. But if there isn't, he's contracted till 2027.
It's not like he's going to go for cheap, is it?
No.
I think United offered 50 million, and you wanted more 70, 75 from what I've heard. United weren't prepared to pay it. Honestly, I think he's worth it. Given his age and how good he looks, I'd have just gone, 65 maybe. They'd have probably accepted at 65, but United were not prepared to go over 50.
Yeah.
You went 80 for Harry Maguire.
And again, I think...
And that was years ago. Players are more expensive now anyway.
Jim Ratcliffe's obviously got this idea that he's not going to get bullied in the business, in the transfer market.
Well, that's fine. He's going to get bullied in the league then.
You can't turn around to clubs, can you, and say, we're only prepared to pay this, and then we're going to walk away if so. And, if you catch Mark Goldbridge talking about it, saying this is the strategy, well, it's not really working for them at the moment. So... Jared's hopefully going to...
I have heard, actually, while we're on the point of transfers and ex-Everton players, I have heard that Newcastle want Ramsdale, but are not prepared to meet Arsenal's asking price. But they may be interested in a swap deal, Ramsdale for Anthony Gordon.
Oh, okay.
What would be your opinion on that? I know you're not really Newcastle or Arsenal, but...
Yeah, I mean, Anthony Gordon was one of those players that we looked at to be a bit of a saviour for us, particularly after Richarlison had gone. There was a lot of trust then put onto his shoulders, and as a local lad, I think when he struggled in games, maybe didn't hit the numbers that he's hit. We've seen him hit for Newcastle. It was a shame how he left the club with, it was during a really toxic time when there's a lot of stuff going on with the CEOs. They weren't attending matches. There was talk of fans attacking people and chasing Anthony Gordon out of a street after a game.
I heard about that. That's not going to help.
It's no, exactly. And his when we played against Newcastle since, again, there's the normal fan banter seems to go like a little bit further with him. But as a player, he's exciting when he's on the ball. He is a good winger, but he's very, very raw. I watched a few minutes that he had at the Euros, and you kind of cried out for that, someone who was going to be direct in that situation.
I can't believe he didn't get more minutes. I can't believe he didn't get more minutes.
It was criminal.
Shocking. If you're going to take, he was basically the only left side. I know we got Eze, who plays on the left as well, but if you look at the two, for me, Gordon is the better player.
Yeah, I think Gordon's more direct.
For Gordon not to get on when we need a left-sided player, and Gordon is a left-sided player, just But, I mean, we were just baffled in here every week. Like, we just couldn't understand what was going on.
I think the only thing that lets him down is his end product is inconsistent, and it's not very. I mean, you'll see him sort of slash them very far wide into the stands, and or smile over the crossbar, and it's very, very rare that he gets that goal. And then he's also got that little reputation that he goes down a little too easily. And
look at Saka. Look at Saka. He's largely lauded as one of the best players in the Premier League, but he struggles to stay on his bloody feet.
It may be my Everton side coming out there when I say about AG, but
for me, we would have beaten Bayern Munich had Saka not thrown himself at their goalkeeper. He'd taken it round the keeper already and then threw himself into the... It would have been easier to score the chance than the penalty because the keeper had already gone. Yeah. So he wasn't even against the keeper, but he threw... I get really angry about it because I hate diving anyway. I always have done. You know that because we played football together years ago.
Yes.
Any of my teammates dive, I used to go and drag them up because it pissed me right. I hate it. There's no point. If you get it, you get it and you go down. There's no problem. Don't dive. It's annoying. It just makes you look like a twat.
It's the initiation of contact when it looks like a player does that, and I think that's what it is with Anthony Gordon.
Havertz has done it as well a couple of times.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of players.
On your feet.
There's a lot of players that
and
do
then
it.
They give the penalty. And you wonder why players do it. Like you can see by looking at that. I'm not a professional official, but I can see looking at it. You've intentionally kicked the keeper and then fallen over and made it look like it doesn't look like a penalty. Get on your feet. Give him a yellow card. On your way. Let's go.
Yeah. Because that's the way it is now.
Yeah,
you can buy a penalty now.
Literally in City's case. They're just soft. People are soft. We are full of snowflakes, and the world is getting a little bit boring, and it's getting a little bit more boring each and every day, and it's a little bit frustrating. And that's why we do stuff like this, just so we can moan at each other every week.
That's it. But you want to keep it out of football, don't you, as well? Because that is, your time away from the reality of all those horrible things.
Like, what was better, right? Even as an Everton fan, right, in the 90s, did you ever think, I'm going to watch Arsenal United because I want to see Vieira Keane? Don't give a shit about the result. Don't care what happens. I just want to see Vieira against Keane.
I wanted to watch Wimbledon versus Sheffield United because of Vinnie Jones. It's how I'll watch any game.
100%.
It didn't matter.
Who the hell was Duncan Ferguson going to punch?
Another one.
During a game.
I used to watch Everton games for Duncan Ferguson.
Exactly.
Because I used to love the way he played football. Do you watch Arsenal United now? For the battle?
No,
or do you just watch it just to see what the result's going to be like because you've got nothing else to do?
That's pretty much it, and I had that conversation with Leon, a United fan, and we were saying how that game in particular. Okay, the rivalry was very different back then, but there's no tenacity like there was in the 90s, and that's the same in a lot of games, a lot of derbies. Everton, Liverpool, even now, it's not like that.
There's nothing. It's just who can dive the most.
It's been sucked out of the game.
Yeah, definitely, and it's the game is for me worse for it. But then, when I go to watch Macclesfield against Stafford, I didn't see any diving in that game. Like, when the players went down, it's because they were it.
Yeah. I mean,
they were caught. Not it, they were punched, but they were caught. Like, someone had actually caught their leg and they'd gone down, and you just think, oh, fair enough. It's either a foul or it's not, and carry on, get on with the game. But I didn't see anyone throwing themselves to the floor or kicking somebody and then going down to try and get the foul. Yeah. And I'm like, I really like lower league football now.
It's a lot rarer.
But that's why I'm more likely to go and watch a Mac game now than I am an Arsenal game. Because for me, the fight is still there. Like, they're fighting for the mortgages.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, professional players aren't. They don't give a shit anymore. They've got that much money, they're not bothered. Like, don't they get 10% of all the transfer fees as well? Declan Rice was sold for 100 million.
Some players are ridiculous. It's more than that.
So that's literally £10 million. Just off the bat in his bank account.
Well, just think how much Mbappe's just been paid to sign for Real Madrid.
Yeah.
Although in saying that, I will say that I sort of picked on Declan Rice there, but I do think he has played his heart out since he's been at Arsenal. I think he's been one of our best players, so the money obviously hasn't affected him too much. But there are players where it clearly does. Aubameyang for me is a clear example.
Yeah.
When he first joined Arsenal, outstanding. He was phenomenal, and he saved us. He won us the FA Cup. He ran games. He ran teams ragged.
Signed his new...
Got 350 grand a week.
Yeah.
He was in France. He never came back. Didn't bother training. He was shocking on the pitch. And Arteta ended up letting him go for nothing because it was
all
about the money.
Yeah.
Does anyone know where he is now?
He's just leaving. He was at Marseille, but I think
I knew he was at Marseille, but I thought he'd gone.
No, he's just about to leave for I think it's Fabregas's new club in Italy, possibly Como, and they're signing quite a few high-profile players. Varane's supposed to be going there as well.
So they're signing names then.
Names, yeah. They've just got promoted to Serie A, but yeah, interesting one that.
Yeah, because we talked about Marseille a couple of weeks ago, didn't we? That the mayor had come out slagging Greenwood. Oh, he's not a Marseille person. I'm not having him living in Marseille, and then they signed him anyway.
Yeah.
So yeah, we thought that was quite funny. But yeah, we are at the start of a new season now.
And you still haven't signed that Italian yet.
We still haven't
Apparently
signed.
he's flown over to join your
Yeah,
training camp.
We've basically signed him. It's all done bar the singing, but we will have Calafiori. Now, do you remember? I made a comment last week and the week before, probably the week before that as well, about if we sign a defender, there's only one defender I want. Do you remember who that was? There's only one defender I've got any interest in Arsenal signing, and he was in the Euros.
Gay.
We're on about, at the minute, a swap deal with Palace, Smith Rowe, Nketiah for Gahey. Obviously, money as well.
I was going to say that doesn't seem
So
like a good deal for Palace.
It'll be money and Nketiah for Gahey. Actually, not disappointed about that at all.
What is it with all of these player trades with clubs at the moment?
It's
financial fair play.
That's it, yeah. So,
financial fair play.
But yeah,
I mean, you've
again,
had the ones, because we mentioned it a few weeks back, where like you were selling, was it Lewis Grabbin you sold?
Lewis Dobbin, yeah, for Irogabinum, yeah.
Were any of them players worth that money?
I mean, 10 million nowadays, I think, it's just like a nominal fee for a transfer anyway. It's a ridiculous.
Yeah, it's like a token gesture.
Yeah,
isn't it? 10 million.
Yeah, when you see the money that Smith Rowe's going for 35 million, he's played twice in 2 years.
Ridiculous. I mean, he is a quality player.
He is. I'd have had him at Everton. He's a great player.
He's not been fit, and then when he was fit, he wasn't played.
For either club?
No, well, I mean, Dobbin, very, very slight player for us last season. Irregular, I think he played 12 games for Villa last season, but again, they would have been, minimal minutes.
I mean, to be fair as well, Villa were not exactly struggling.
So he's not come in to play for your team. Now, when I was listening to Simon Jordan's book, he goes into a lot of the transfer dealings and how contracts work, about how it's so Declan Rice is worth 110 million last season. A year's gone now, so he's not worth 110 million now on the books anymore.
No,
because over the length of his contract,
you take 25 million off because of the transfer, because he's been there a year, and then his wages as well. So he's now worth like 28 million less.
So
than
the
he
only
was
players
on paper.
Yeah.
But now that you get rid of, which is probably why Calvert-Lewin was the one that was linked, because he is free money because he doesn't have a transfer fee related to it. And then you've got like Chelsea that can't get rid of Lukaku every year, and he kept going out on loan because that doesn't impact the financial fair play because he's on loan rather than selling him for the reduced rate.
It's crazy. But then we're going to do the same with obviously if that swap deal doesn't come up, we're going to do the same with Ramsdale, because for some strange reason Arteta seems to think his bum boy mate is a better goalkeeper, which is clearly not the case because Ryan's shocking. But he's not going to play Ramsdale, and Ramsdale for me shouldn't sit on the bench for another year.
On loan for a year, help you out.
I think somebody will end up loaning him, because I don't think anyone's going to pay 40 million for Aaron Ramsdale. No. Why would you even ask 40 million for a keeper you don't rate? You've told the whole world last season you don't think Ramsdale's good enough, because you've played fucking Flappy Bird for 12 months, who literally handed out 11 goals to the opposition last season. I'm telling you, if it wasn't for Raya's mistakes, we'd have won the league by some distance.
I think
he gave 2 goals away against Luton, 2 against Spurs, 1 against Chelsea, 1 against Newcastle, 1 against West Ham. I could go on. There's more, and trust me, I have listed them, and I've gone back and rewatched the games and listed them again. He handed out 11 goals last season. 4 of them would have taken us from a draw to a win.
Yeah.
That's 8 points. Would have won the league easily without Raya, because Raya is shite. And I will say it as long as he's at Arsenal, because he should not be there. Ramsdale should be the number one. I'm really angry about it. I don't know if you can tell.
I know.
I'm really angry
obviously
about it.
We've had discussions about the whole Raya. I don't think Raya's that bad at all. And I don't even think Ramsdale's a better keeper either. I do think
far better. Shot stopping is far better.
Yeah, maybe. I've seen Ramsdale came in for those games he played last season, didn't he? Make an error straight away the first game.
Of course,
I know
pressure's on now.
Yeah, it's
pressure's on him.
Was it the Brentford game or was it the cup game that he played in? And
the only argument I'll make, right, is before we signed Raya on loan, so not last season, the season before, in March, when Saliba was fit, Arsenal were 8 points clear at the top of the Premier League when we had our full defence.
Yeah.
When Raya was in there and we had our full defence, we were never 8 points clear at any point.
Yeah, but I mean, that doesn't just come down to your results as well. That comes down to how other teams are performing. I honestly don't think there's a massive difference between the two of them at all.
I think it's huge. I think Ramsdale's got better distribution. And we did the stats. He literally went in stats on long passes, short passes, save percentage. Raya, right, was 16th in save percentage last season. The only reason he got the Golden Glove because he faced less shots than anybody else. He faced less shots than any other keeper.
Oh yeah, I know how that works.
And of the shots he faced, he was 16th in save percentage.
Yeah. He was still better than Bazunu, which the stats.
I mean, to be fair, that doesn't say a lot, does it? Because Bazunu wasn't great for you. But yeah, so that's my argument for Raya.
I mean, like you say, if you're looking at particularly Calafiori, then maybe Gay's coming into the side.
If Gay comes in, I'll be really pleased because I personally don't rate Gabriel that highly.
You've still got Justin Timber as well. Jurrien Timber, sorry, Justin Timber. I was going to say Timberlake, but Jurien Timber. He's going to be like a new signing, really. Yeah. It'll be interesting then to see how obviously Raya then's going to have to gel with a new defence in front of him. So you might get a few more times.
Well, I think you're going to have to look at.
He didn't have to face many shots last season.
You're going to have to look at, for me, Zinchenko's got to go. Tierney's got to go as much as I don't want him to. I love Tierney. Zinchenko's got to go. Tierney's got to go, and Kivior's got to go. If you're bringing in Calafiori and Gahey, then them three for me have to leave.
I mean, we said it. We said the keeper of last season, best keeper last season was Jordan Pickford. I think he pretty much
without a shadow of a doubt. You'd have gone down. If we'd have swapped keepers, we'd have won the league and you'd have gone down.
Probably correct.
There's not a doubt in my mind about it either.
No, Pickford was insane last season, to be fair. And he was very, very close to that Golden Glove. But obviously the last game of the season is always one of the big ones if he'd have kept two towards the end. But the run of clean sheets, again, doesn't just come down to George, but the defence in front of him, which James Tarkowski is the linchpin of. He literally...
I think he's quite underrated,
He's massively... I mean...
I think he's quite underrated. I think he's a good player.
Going back to Sean Dyche as England manager, I mean, the dream at the World Cup for me would have just been Pickford in goal with Branthwaite and Tarkowski playing centre-back in front of him. It's a tried and tested.
It is very you can understand that, but it was very hard to leave out like a John Stones at the time unknown. Now we'd go Conser and Gay.
I said to you, and I'll say to you, I would have played John Stones instead of Mainu. I'd have played him DM because I think he's brilliant there. I think he's brilliant there. And I'd have had Gahey and Konza as the centre backs.
Maybe Stones should have been the shout ahead of Trent then. In that, when they, I mean,
definitely
when Southgate turned around a year or so that they were behind closed doors training and practicing for Trent to play in that position. A year apparently, and John Stones already playing there for.
What are they doing in that year? Because they weren't training. I don't know what they were doing, but it wasn't fucking training. It was shocking, whatever it was they were doing, because that was not good. He looked lost.
It was a bad experiment, wasn't it? And
the thing that didn't help was he was so good in that friendly before. He played that position so well.
When you've been in a job 7.5 years, why are you going into a tournament experimenting?
Of course.
Who does that?
Again, taking Shaw, and why would you take a massive gamble like that? Why?
To be fair, that paid off because when Shaw actually did play, he proved.
Yeah, but did it though? Because you don't know. Because had he taken Mitchell like he should have done, Mitchell could have been that from day one. We could have comfortably beaten Slovakia, comfortably beaten Denmark.
Yeah, but I would never have played Kieran Trippier at the left. I would have been playing Joe Gomez or even Conser there, because they both played well in the
Gomez for me. Out of the ones that went, it should have been Gomez.
I mean, Trippier again, he wasn't fully fit. Obviously, Harry Kane wasn't fully fit, but this is why Branthwaite for me, he's left. He's right-footed, but he plays left. He can play left back. The guy can play anywhere across the back line. I was so shocked they took Lewis Dunk ahead of Jarrod Branthwaite. I
was a little bit shocked. Well, we were all a bit shocked. I like Lewis Dunk.
Yeah. He was one that could have played in games, and especially when you're looking at and you're struggling in the left hand side. I mean, you mentioned Mitchell. As a Palace fan who I speak to quite often, he said he was the one. He wasn't surprised Mitchell didn't go. He said at the end of the season he was very, very shaky and was behind a few mistakes in their goals. But for me, I agree with both of you. I was like, yeah, Mitchell should be the left back that we'd take there. Why are you taking Luke Shaw, who hasn't played since February? But anyway, it's
by the by now. But you're still allowed to complain about it.
I mean, before we were saying Jack Grealish shouldn't have gone, but then after the last friendly, I thought he changed the game when he come on, and I was like, I could see him picking him, and then he didn't. And then all the games that we watched, we were like, we needed Grealish to come on. So again, it's Southgate's decisions that cost us.
I was at
in the end because there was no point Adam Wharton going.
Again, another one. Yeah, he was one I mentioned with Gordon. He's a young lad. Okay, it's great experience, but he could have played in that position. He's very, very highly spoken of from Blackburn, and Palace fans are starting to see that now. Man City are supposedly looking at him. He's a very, very good player, but again, why not just give him a few minutes?
City are even looking at him.
If he does want to listen to that, don't go to Man City. Don't do what Calvin Phillips has done, because Phillips was so good, he's ruined it.
Yeah.
You look at Sinclair as well, didn't he? He was so good at Swansea. Yeah. He went to City, and now he ruined.
Just went nowhere.
Yeah.
There's been more. The lad, was it Jack Rodwell? Yeah, ruined because he went to City.
God, did he end up in League One?
Rodwell, he was with Sunderland. Yeah.
City ruined great youngsters.
Yeah.
Because they don't play him.
Real good, like Barkley, and
he got sent off against Liverpool as well for going through Luis Suarez, so he holds, really.
I really enjoyed that
really
challenge.
High.
I'm not gonna lie, I remember that challenge.
I was at the game. I did.
That was great. That tackle was. I cheered it when I was watching it. It was brilliant.
Jamie Carragher gave us a bit when Andy Carroll scored, so he got a few programmes in his face when he ran up to the Gladys Street end. But yeah, that was when we wanted VAR.
Yeah. Back in the days when we thought it was going to help.
Because if you City, who are you going to play? Are you going to play Rodri or are you going to play Adam Wharton?
Exactly.
Well, we went through Rodri's stats the other day, didn't we?
Yeah.
Have you heard that?
No.
He's lost one game in his last 81.
Oh, I'd say, I knew the one through the season.
And he hasn't lost for Spain for close to 500 games now.
It's crazy.
And the last team that beat him?
500 games.
Scotland.
Yeah, in the Euro qualifiers, yeah.
But yeah, 500 days without losing for Spain and 81 games, and he's lost one of them, and it's just incredible, isn't it? There's no...
And then he came off at half-time in the Euros, and all you could hear around you was, Rodri's off now, this is the time. And we were saying it doesn't matter if Rodri comes off, they'll bring a player on who can pass that ball, who can work the players and bring the attacking midfielders on the pitch. They were a unit that worked together.
Spain were a good side like those.
They
were the best team at the Euros
by far.
For me, they were the best
England
team
lost
at the Euros.
It is when they took a throw in their own half, in the attacking half, and it ended up back at Pickford, and then Spain just went on the attack. Then
yeah, I would have known.
England were on the front foot, and then
these don't fancy this at all. Let's go.
Oh, we're going defensive now. Let's attack.
Right, I think what we're going to do is we're going a little while, so we're going to go to break in a short while. But what I want to do is just explain quickly that the reason Craig is with us today, or one of the reasons Craig is with us today, because I have been trying to get him on for a little while, is you're trying to start, or you're going to be starting a podcast specifically for Stafford Rangers.
Stafford Rangers, and then for the MPL West. So we want to target the division we're in and the level that we're in, so we can involve other clubs as well. Yeah.
Right. So he's joined us today just to see sort of what we do and how he's more than likely going to improve it when he goes further on and does it for Stafford. So what we're going to do is ask you that once you're set up, send us all your links, and we will put your links on our profiles for a little while and try and pass it about and just...
That's great stuff. Now I appreciate
maybe
that.
Give it a little boost or whatever, and just try and get it around, really, because we're all just little things and little people just trying to do our own little thing, and it all helps if you get a leg up from somewhere else.
No, definitely. And when I reached out to you, that was one of the first things. So I appreciated the invite to come down and have a look at things, and how you and Jim John got it set up. And I mean, you're too humble about yourself. It
started honestly. It started the very first episode we did, right? And there is a video. I'll show it you in the break. We were set up over here, right? Because I didn't have any of the green screens or anything around then. It was all just a gym. And me and him were sat against my multi-gym with a microphone dangling down in between us because I couldn't get 3 mics on it because they didn't allow.
Brilliant, yeah.
And we were literally just using a phone. And then we got these little clippy microphones. Yeah. So for ages, me and him shared a mic because we could only get 2 of them on. And Tim Ribbs had his own off screen. And I was just recording the whole thing on a phone. So my phone did everything. It did the recording, it did the editing, it did the shorts.
You've come a long
way. Did everything.
Yeah.
It took us a while, but we have got a bit of an actual setup now, although you're probably not going to notice too much. So we're going to have a podcast. Any ideas on the names yet, or have you not come up with a name yet?
We had a chat about it. We went to the friendly against Sutton Coldfield, which another defeat, and we went through a few names. I think a couple of them were. One was called "Where's the Badger Gone?" So Stafford Rangers mascot is Bobby the Badger. It's getting someone to wear that costume is really, really hard work, and so we only see it sporadically at games. So we
definitely not going to see that during the summer. Right?
Yeah. So where's the Badger Gone is kind of up there on the list of them at the moment.
So you haven't actually decided on a name.
We've
yet?
not got it. We've not got it finalised. It's
not set in stone, right?
I do like that though.
I quite like that. Where's the Badger Gone?
I'll use that as a approval and go back with my findings.
That might be the episode name this week. Where's the Badger Gone?
That's not a bad shout, actually. Right, so I think what we're going to do now is we're going to go to break, and we shall be back very shortly with something a little different. Hello, and welcome back from the break to episode 40. Right, I wanted to do something different this week because we've had a predictions game and we've had a fantasy football for the Euros. And we're doing a fantasy football. Actually,
you won.
I won.
He did win it, but he doesn't win anything because we're not going to give it to people that are on the pod. So we need the people that came second. Ryan. We need Ryan to get in touch because you're not going to get your prize if you don't get in touch. We have ordered it; it's on its way, but I can't send it to you if you don't get in touch with us and let us know where I'll need to send it. We're doing a fantasy football league next year. I don't know if I've told you. And whoever wins it, we are going to buy a shirt of their choosing for the start of next season. Right? So if you want to get involved in that, if I can send you our links to that, and if you could get that around, that would be great. Course, we're not charging to get into the league. We're just giving out the code.
Okay.
So it's free to go in, free to do, free to be a part of. But if you win it, or come second to one of us Muppets, then you'll get a shirt of your choice at the start of next season. So it'll be your new kit next year.
You have to follow us on YouTube.
You have to be subscribed to the YouTube channel. That's the only thing that we've got. Basically, just to boost the numbers for YouTube. Enough. Just to boost the numbers for our YouTube, and that's pretty much what we want. So yeah, if you're watching on YouTube, please just subscribe. It doesn't hurt you, but it does do us a lot of good, and then we can start giving more stuff away. So it will benefit you in the long run. Right, I want to start with a game. Okay, now I was going to arrange this myself, but I've been very, very, very busy this week, so I've had my 12-year-old son, who unfortunately is a Tottenham fan, this weekend. So I said to him, can you please arrange the game for me? This is what I want, and this is what I want to do, and this is how I want it structured. So I sent my 12-year-old away with Google and my book, and this is what he's come back with now. We're all about to realise this at the same time.
Brilliant.
So I know what I wanted,
but you don't know
we're
what
all about to find out what I got.
Is this the first time you've opened the book?
This is the first time I've opened the book.
Brilliant.
Now, the game's called Who Am I? Now, I've given you both a pen and paper. I'm going to go through what I'm going to refer to as Section 1, Round 1, Part 1, whatever you want to call it, Section 1. And then at the end of Section 1, I'll ask you both, who am I? You get 5 points if you get it right, Section 1, 3 points Section 2, 1 point Section 3. If you need any more help, you don't get anything. You are going to be playing as a guest for Tin Ribs this week. I guarantee you'll get more points than he would.
I don't know about that.
I know you're listening, Tim, but I'm just going to slag you off because you're not here. You know how it works. So, who am I? Section 1. I was born in Utrecht, Holland, 31st of October 1964. Started my youth career in 1970 for EDO, who are no longer going. That is round 1. Have you got any guesses who that is? Utrecht's in Holland, by the way, in case you didn't know.
I'm writing down.
I'll go through that again.
They were born in 64.
I was born in Utrecht, Holland, 31st of October 1964. Started my youth career in 1970 for a team called EDO, who are no longer going. That is round 1. So have you got any ideas who may have been born in Holland, Utrecht in 1964 and became a professional footballer?
I'm going to go with...
These are all going to be footballers, by the way. There's no shock to it.
Ruud Gullit.
Ruud Gullit.
Yeah.
Okay.
I wrote Johan Cruyff.
Both wrong. Okay. So, no points for round 1. Round 2. I was known for my close ball control, my headers, and spectacular shots, and particular my volleys, and attacking awareness. I won 3 Ballon d'Ors, Player of the Year 1992, and Golden Boot in the Euros. That is round 2. Sorry, my son's writing. It's not. I'm getting through it as well. Right, so write it down. Don't say anything, and then I'm going to ask you to turn your papers round when you're ready. Okay. So let me know when you're both written and you're finished. Yeah. Because you think you've got it, I don't want you to say and then go, "Oh, I wrote the same thing."
Yeah. I think we've both got the same thing.
Have you got it? Right. 3, 2, 1. Turn. You've got Van Basten and Van Basten. You're both right. So you both get 3 points. It is Marco Van Basten. And in case you didn't get that, round 3 was going to be, my career was cut short and I retired in 1995 at the age of 30. Started my career at Ajax and retired at AC Milan. Scored 218 goals for club in 280 games.
That was prolific.
Was his country's international manager. I think that says.
He was, yeah, he was.
So, yeah. I'll go to the back. In fact, I'll do that afterwards. You both got 3 points anyway, didn't you?
He was close to being my first pick then as well. When you said 64, I just added 30 on and thought, right, it's one of the 3. It's either Van Basten, Rijkaard or Gullit. And I've been managing AC Milan on an old champ manager, and it's the 89-90 season.
Oh, right, so you've got them there.
I've got the Arrigo Sacchi legends from that era.
Okay. I now know who the second one is because I've just gone to that. Right. Round 1. I was born in Sale, England, 17th of August 1982. Started my youth career in 1998. I started my professional career in 2000. I am 5'11", and I trained with City and made my debut at 17. Who am I? So both write it down and let me know when you've got it done. Could be interesting, this one.
So just go through that. So he's born in Sale.
So I'll read it again. I was born in Sale, England, 17th of August 1982. Started my youth career in 1998. Started my professional career in 2000. I am 5'11", and I trained with City. I made my debut at 17.
It's really hurting me, this one is.
So are you both written a name?
Yeah.
3, 2, 1. Who have we got?
I haven't got a name written down right now, so I'm just going to have to go with absolutely anyone. 82. I'm just going to say Wayne Rooney, even though it isn't.
Wayne Rooney.
I wrote Daniel Sturridge.
Right, both wrong. Okay. So, round 2. I did think that was going to be a bit difficult, actually. I read that. I got no clue who it was. I was like you. I was just thinking, who's roughly born around the same time as me?
Same time as me.
Yeah.
From sort of the
who's
Manchester
roughly my
area.
age, and that was basically my way of thinking as well. And just for the record, I was way off when I had my guess. So, I'm trying to work out what it says. Left my first club in 2007. So started in 2000. I left my first club in 2007. Played for second club for 12 years and made 659 professional appearances. I played 40 games, including 2 tournaments for my country, England. 34 career goals for club, 3 for country. Who am I?
Wow.
Right, Greg's busy writing down there, so I think he's got it. Have you got anyone, or do you need me to read it again?
I've not got that.
Yeah, just go through the highlights while I think of...
Right, left my first club in 2007. Played for my second club for 12 years. I made 659 professional appearances. I played 40 games, including 2 tournaments for my international club, England. I scored 34 career goals for club and 3 for country. Who am I? Any ideas? Have you written one down? You're looking at me like I'm the one that's gone out. This was Zach. Blame Zach.
This is tough.
I'm gone with a... No, because that's...
Just for the record, I wouldn't have got it from that. I wouldn't have got it from the second one.
I'm nowhere near, and I know that. Absolutely nowhere near. I can't even think of anyone.
Yeah, I can't really think of a player.
So you've got no name in mind.
No.
Who's the name?
Wes Brown.
Wes Brown, not Wes Brown.
Right.
You know what? I went with Francis Jeffers.
You might be surprised at some of the next one then. Right, I retired at Stoke. Now, whether this is official or not, Craig, you can tell us afterwards. I am considered an Everton local legend. I played centre-back. I'm English. I was made Everton captain 2013 to 2014. I retired November 2023 at 41 years old. So, Everton, you were closer than you think with Everton.
Yeah.
The scary thing is I'm absolutely nowhere near with this right now, and I haven't got a clue who it is. In Everton,
I'll read the last one again.
Okay.
Now, the local legend thing is something you could maybe go, oh, no, he definitely wasn't.
I think I know it for sure.
I'm an Everton local legend. I retired at Stoke. I'm a centre-back. I'm English. I was made Everton captain 2013 to 14. Retired November 2023 at 41 years old. So for 1 point, are we locked in, boys? Have we got an answer? What have we got? 3, 2, 1.
Phil Jagielka.
Phil Jagielka. You've got Phil. It is Phil Jagielka.
You know, the only reason I knew that is because I knew he played for Stoke.
Yeah, literally, I'm an Everton fan, and the one clue that I got it after, I was like, who did we sell to Stoke? Oh, yeah, Jagielka.
Jim with 4 points. We've got 10.
That was really tough.
You know, I nearly wrote Ashley Cole at one point, and then when he went 40 caps, I went, yeah, he got a few more.
Yeah, a couple more.
I was trying to think of some obscure defender with the goals thing.
It was the fact that he's born around Manchester and played for Man City as a youth that it absolutely threw me. But
so you're 4 each, you and Tin Ribs, but I have written there that Craig Cartwright was the one that scored the 4 for Tin Ribs. I'm fairly certain Tin Ribs is listening to it now. He's going to get back in a couple of weeks, and Tin will go, oh, I got that. Yeah, he didn't.
Brilliant.
He probably got 2 points. And maybe.
Phil is a bit of a local legend for mainly one reason.
Did you know the Phil Jagielka?
I'd have got it after the last one, but the first 2, not a chance.
Yeah.
Not a chance. I wouldn't have even been close, to be honest. I don't even think I'd have been at the right club. I think I'd have been miles away. A bit like you with the Wes Brown. My thought process would have been very similar to yours.
Yeah, just Manchester.
It's Sale, isn't it? Altrincham, Sale, Cheshire, Manchester.
The problem is it's so difficult because if it's not your own club, and the worst part is when it comes to your own club and you don't know it.
That's what I was like then.
But the thing is, though, is you both got 4 points on the Dutch guy who wasn't even born in your country, let alone your club.
And you know what? He's slightly before my time.
Slightly before your time. We remember.
We were.
Because I'm
what a play.
Because I'm a couple years behind you.
We had. All right. There's no need for that, was there? That was that. I'll tell you what, you can go people. There's probably going to be 2 of us here next week. We had very early on. We had a name your greatest ever 11 from anywhere, from any generation.
Yeah.
Marco van Basten was in mine.
So you're right. He was
just phenomenal. And I think for me, if you face any team with R9 and Marco van Basten in it, you're in trouble.
Well,
I think
you're in trouble.
I think that the only reason I got that Marco van Basten is the fact that of how you've talked about, and you've probably mentioned it to your son, that he probably went and Googled his name to try be obscure.
I imagine that was probably part of it.
And that's probably the only reason I got it. So, because I don't think any of them clues, I'm not convinced I'd have got it if I hadn't have known
if you hadn't heard it from us.
Van Basten, yeah.
Are we keeping that section or are we getting rid of it?
It's fine for me.
You're all right with it?
Tough. I don't fancy me.
It might not be that difficult every week though, because I might do it myself next week and the week after, and I'll almost put a few more sort of easy clues in there somewhere or another. I like the first bit, just where I was born and when I started my career in that. So
actually start off really hard and then actually
to get the 5 points has got to be difficult. It's just where I was born, how old I was when I started my career, stuff like that, quite like that, and then maybe make it the second bit a little bit a touch easier, maybe on the second bit.
As long as you don't go too like much older than Marco van Basten.
I think most of them will be born around 1970 to 1990, maybe 2000 or whatever. Maybe some young players.
That's it. You want players who've like sort of
they're
well known on
most of our views come on YouTube Shorts, TikTok, and Instagram. Which, let's face it, the youth of today have got no fucking patience or any form of like concentration span at all. So if you go any further than like 2000, they're not going to know because football didn't exist then, did it? Because like you mentioned the likes of Van Basten, Ronaldo. There can't possibly be more than one Ronaldo. Yeah, they can actually. He was a lot better because he played on worse pitches and still made people look like they'd never seen a football before in their life. So yeah, he was far better. So yeah, there we go. There's our game, and you both finished on 4 points. Congratulations! I think you did really well then, actually, on that, mate.
Cheers.
I think you did really well there. To be fair, that was quite hard. It
was good.
Maybe some of the listeners can do one for us.
Yeah. If anyone wants to get in touch and send their own in, that'd be great. Sundaypundits@gmail.com if you want to send yours in. That'd be quite interesting, actually, if people are willing to do that. But yeah, I'll sort another two for next week for you and whoever's joining us next week. I think we've got Josh with us next week. Maybe Jovan, if Yo can make it next week. Is there anything you guys want to put out there? Craig?
Well, just to go back really to when we were talking about the radio and the podcast that we're starting. It's been great to see this, and how you throw the little feature. I thought that was a really good feature there, and it's definitely something you should stick. And I'll be at home sort of listening into that, thinking, who the hell's he got this week on this one?
Well, you'll know, because I think what I'll do is I'll stick to that just being the first part of part 2. We'll go into part 2 and just go straight into the game then. So it'll be at the same point every week. So
yeah, it's great stuff. And like when we've been talking about our structure and how things are going to look for the podcast and what sort of things we want to do, we hadn't even thought about sort of something interacting with a little kind of game thing with each other. And it's been really, really good to see to come down here and see how you've got things set up. And like I say, as humble as you are about what everything looks like, I think it's great. Like if we even had half of this when we jump in, it's going to be really good. But
thanks, man. I appreciate that.
No problem.
Because we've not really had much outside interaction, really. Because we had Yov here a little while ago, but Yov had never done a podcast. I don't think he'd ever heard his own voice played back to him on any sort of recording device at all. So it was all very strange to him. So I don't think he came with the same sort of ideology as you. You've come with how's it set up? I want to pay attention and I want to know what's going on.
Exactly.
And I think Yov just came and he's just I just want to get involved and have a chat.
Yeah.
So we don't really, and obviously when Shane was here, he was pushing the JRI because obviously we met the lads. Like we absolutely love them lads. They're great. They are them because we heard them and they were ripping into the Mac fans. It was all taken in good spirit. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying these kids were unruly or nasty. It was so funny.
Yeah, they
were so good at what they do, and they're not at all confident. At the same time as being really confident, it's so weird.
Yeah,
it's like they look like they're going to be really timid and shy, and then they stood there going, "Yeah, but you're rubbish." And I'm like, wasn't expecting that.
Yeah,
I like it, but I wasn't expecting that.
I go to the games, obviously with Shane last season, like quite a few of the away games. I'd travel up with him, and he'd have the kids there, and they'd be prepping their stuff beforehand before they go into the away matches. And I totally get what you mean about that kind of timid nature, but then all of a sudden,
and then you turn that camera on them.
They feel at home.
Different.
They feel at home, I think, doing that, and it's great that they've got an opportunity because the club's in, in my opinion, it's in dire straits at the moment.
Yeah. I'd agree. I haven't seen a lot of it, but
I see a lot of negativity because obviously I am part of the
borough group.
The borough group, so I do know what's going on, and it's full of a lot of negativity.
Shane offered us a lot of advice when we were starting. Not when we started, because obviously I didn't talk to him. We just sort of started and got on with it. But after I think it was about 20 episodes, I started to contact Shane when I saw his JRA. And I said, like, will you get involved with us and we can get involved with you and maybe push each other and get each other's names out there. So obviously we did an episode with Shane, and then Shane had come across and he's like, why don't you try this or try this or try this? And to be fair, it all seems to have worked quite well, really. He's been really helpful. So I'm like, well, any chance we get, we'll push the JRI, we'll get their socials out there, and we'll,
of course,
we'll do what we can to help, because obviously he's helped us quite a bit. So and then when we went to the game, Stafford Mac game, the way them lads, they're not shy at all. They were going up to the Mac fans as well, and they're like, what do you think of today's game? And like interviewing the away fans, to be that bold but very, very polite as well. And they're only young, aren't they? They're about 12, 11, 12?
I think 11, 12, and you need that, to be honest, and particularly with non-league clubs that are trying to create a platform for themselves and to be more approachable to, like new age fans that maybe use social media a lot more than us guys.
That's the thing, isn't it?
And so to have that different kind of approach where it's the kids doing it, it's fair play to them for doing that, and as a club as a whole, that's what it needs. It needs a lot more of that. The communications, you'll know, Jim Jam, from looking on the Up the Borough group, there's a lot of the angst comes from the untimely communications, promises that then don't happen.
Do Stafford Rangers know you're setting up a podcast?
Do the board members know? No.
So is anybody, how do I word it? Are any decision makers going to have anything to do with the pod? Like, are you going to be able to go up to somebody and go, "Can we interview you on the podcast?" Obviously, you'll have to, like, if you're interviewing anyone of a certain level, you're going to have to give them a slip of paper. These are the questions we're going to ask you.
Yeah, of course.
Because you're going to have to give them some. Like with you coming on here now, I've not give you any warning on what we're going to talk about. It's just been, we just have a chat.
That's it. Yeah.
But I'm not going to put any pressure on you, whereas you at Stafford Rangers may get a board member down and go, why aren't you buying in? Why aren't you doing this? Why aren't you doing that?
Yeah.
And he could sit there thinking, fuck, I'm off, I'm going. So you're going to have to give him some sort of pre-warn on the questions you want to ask.
Yeah, so as you know, I do the commentary for the radio as well, so a lot of what...
That's, by the way, if anyone is listening, that's Mixlr. And it's an app, I believe, Mixlr app. You can download the app on your phone, Mixlr. And if you type in just Stafford Rangers in the search bar, I believe you come up just with Stafford Rangers. Because I've listened to you guys a couple of times. And to be fair, it's actually really good commentary. And I'm not saying this because you're here, because I actually listened to it. And if it was crap, I wouldn't listen to it, because you're not going to listen to something that's crap.
We've got a good following.
So it is decent, because I also like the fact that you can set up this Mixlr for Stafford Rangers and be just a little bit biased on your commentary. Because I think without that, I don't think it's football.
Yeah, I think
if you're being completely unbiased,
it gets a bit of banter with the guys for listening to them.
I get TV commentators being unbiased. Like, I get it. I like the fact that Gary Neville's doing it now, and Henry, and they'll talk to Henry about Tottenham, and he'll go, I'm not interested, I don't want to talk. I like that.
Yeah.
And like when Ian Wright's there and he slags off Spurs and he's just celebrating Arsenal for nothing. I like it.
Yeah.
So when I listen to you guys and you are slightly pro Stafford, I'm like, I quite like that, because it shows you care.
You have to.
It shows you bother.
Yeah, I mean, that's why you're there essentially watching the game.
Of course it is,
off mic, I'll have shut the media suite door and I'll be outside and I'll be yelling and effing at the referee or the
I think we heard you that day. Actually, there was a couple of
it may have happened.
fluffs coming out the back.
Yeah, there might have been. Calling Craig for a reason, but. But because we do the radio, we've had lots of opportunities where we'll have players on at half time, and they'll come and they'll be interviewed. So like Wayne Daniel, who's a bit of a Rangers legend, has come on. I interviewed him.
Name.
Shooter.
I know the name.
Yeah, he's a centre back for Stafford Rangers. He won the title with us a couple of times. Well, one time then in the playoffs when we went up against Droylsden years ago. So he's a well-known lad around the club, and he came on and we interviewed him. And it's again, so you're like kind of preparing them before you come on. You give them a few things. Board members, we won't get any board members on. That's not going to happen. The idea is,
I mean, if you're doing it for 12 months and all of a sudden you've got 3,000-4,000 listeners, regular listeners, you could then go to your board and go, look, we've got a following here. It's like, you only get, how many do you get in your ground? 1,000, 2,000 in the stadium?
Oh, it'd be great if we could.
By the sounds of the group following, it doesn't sound like the board members want to write a comment on a website.
Possibly not, but like if you can go to them and go, we've got 2,000 people listening every single week.
It's
like,
potentially.
Is there any chance we can come down and say something? You're more likely to have a little bit of something.
I'll be honest with the way Stafford Rangers, and again, so many fans will have a similar-ish opinion, but the way the club's run and the people that are behind running the club, whilst they're there, nothing kind of things will change, and people have this opinion that they're not going to listen. So I've just created a supporters survey, which I've been working on for about 12 months. We were going to put it out to Stafford Rangers fans last summer, and we released it last week. I had 200 responses within a couple of days. So from, I think we got about 550 maybe season ticket, 400 season ticket holders. So to have a good proportion of people responding already is great. And all of these questions on here, and if you come down to the Rangers, even if you come once a season or you follow us on the radio, fill the survey in, it's on the club's website. It's going to give us focus on what we're doing well, so let's carry on doing that. What we're not doing so well, so let's stop that, and what can we improve on, so let's it'll give us like a bit of a stop start go approach, and we can
I think at this level, like I say this level because that I follow Mac as well, I'm not just Arsenal, much like yourself with Everton. So at this level that we're at, because we're at basically the same level, you need that fan input, because the fans are so important lower down, because you're not getting the TV money, you're not getting Champions League money, you're not getting all this money just chucked at you left, right and centre. So, you need people to be in the shop buying the shirts, buying scarves, buying programmes, buying tickets to the game. You need to get these people through the door. It's so important, because the club will go without it.
And that's where the issue is at the moment, because the performances on the pitch, obviously relegated last season. We've conceded, I think in the last 10 games, it's 27 games, goals conceded, 1 scored, including these pre-season friendlies where we've been getting beat.
Been looking at your friendlies, actually. And
we're getting beat 4-0 by Brockton, Stafford Town, Eccleshall.
I think it was 4-1, wasn't it, against Stafford Town? It wasn't.
No, it's 4-0.
Was it 4-0?
4-0. Crewe was 4-1, and that was a very strong Crewe side that played over the 90 minutes. But fans, obviously, it's a very new team. A lot of players have left the club because our budget is now going to be a little low. We're not going to be able to keep hold of them. They're not going to want to play at step 8 of the pyramid. So we're struggling, and we're building a team. And you mentioned just about, you need those people to do that.
Of course you do, yeah.
We had a fans forum not so long ago where the chairman said, there's not money men growing on trees. We can't just find new owners. Hensford's new owners reportedly worth between 80 and 180 million pound. They've been to Spain to a warm weather camp last week. They've been playing Wolves. They've got Wrexham in a friendly. They've done a load of work. They've got brand new dressing rooms which look Premier League standard, and they've got a 5-year plan to make it to the National League Premier League. That is someone coming in from Tamworth, where he's based, so they do maybe grow on trees quite locally.
Well, again, I was going to Moss Rose in Mac from 1984, and I can tell you that we played there last December, right? Because we play football every Friday, as you know.
Yes, yeah.
Now, the guys from there, we have a Christmas do, but our Christmas do, because a lot of us, like myself, I'm teetotal. So if they went, we're going to go out and we're going to spend all the money on beer, there's no fucking good to me, because I don't drink anyway, so it makes no difference. So what we do is the guy that runs it will go, here's your 6, 7 options, whatever it is. And one of them last year, as it happened, now I'd got no input in this, and he didn't know anything about it. He only knew me as an Arsenal fan, because I wear an Arsenal shirt every Friday. And one of them was play at the Moss Rose, the leasing.com stadium as it is now. And I'm like, I can't even believe that's an option. Yeah. And I'm like talking to everyone going, please vote for that. I'd fucking love to go and play at Macclesfield. Of course, then they all knew the story, and I told everyone, so we ended up playing at Macclesfield.
Brilliant.
What is that stadium like? For the level that they're at.
Now, Rob Smethurst... It's a League 2 stadium.
Yeah, Rob Smethurst was born in Macclesfield.
I know, yeah.
Lived in Macclesfield. Spent his whole life in Macclesfield. Made his fortune in Macclesfield.
Yeah.
You're not telling me there's nobody in Stafford that's made something of themselves, and he's still here running a business.
Exactly. I had a good chat with Rob after the game, and I said to him, I had such admiration for what he's done to get there, because you see the BBC documentary and everything else, but the hard work that has gone into that for him to get the club back to to potentially where he wants to get them to. Already, you can see the fruition's paid off with the promotions. They were unlucky last season.
Rob Smethurst and Robbie Savage will answer every single fan on Facebook.
I've noticed.
Every one of them.
I've noticed.
Now, I've messaged both of them separately, saying, I don't want to thank you for the money and for this and that. I want to thank you for the time that you've put into it, because the amount of time and effort they must have both put into doing what they've done. Like, they took over a club with like 7 months to go to the season.
That's right, yeah.
And there was no stadium, there was no pitch, there was no players, there was no goals. There was nothing.
Yeah.
And to get all that sorted in 7 months and play the first game of the season with players, subs, a fully fledged stadium, everything fine.
Gym,
like,
a bistro.
That is ridiculous. And the stadium, when we went up, I think we were quite lucky actually, because the night we went up to Macclesfield, 2nd of December it was, and it snowed up there, heavy.
It made it.
When the stadium was lit up,
I bet it looked good.
And we walked out and it was snowing, mate, it looks so good. You can see it's on YouTube. I've got the videos on
brilliant.
YouTube.
Yeah.
Of the day.
Experience.
It was so good. And it looks amazing when it's all lit up like in the back. I'd not seen it like that before.
Yeah.
Because the new stadium, I've only been to that during the day.
Yeah.
So it's not lit up and it's not all bells and whistles. Like, I know what it looked like in the 80s when, you know, where we walked into the stadium from what is now the away stand.
Yes, yeah.
Like that, there was no stands there in the 80s. That was a mud hill.
Yeah.
And as you're coming from the pitch, you used to go up the mud hill, down the bottom, and the toilets were down the bottom.
Yes.
And you could smell them toilets from
bet.
the town centre.
I bet.
It was gross. But I'm talking 1985, 1986, I'm going back a long time. So to go there now and see what it's like now, honestly, it brought a tear to me. I'm like,
that's you're
my granddad's not here to see this now, and he was the first one to take me to Moss Road in 1984. Like, he'd absolutely love that stadium now. That's why this gym, like you said when you walked into the gym that I've built here, it's very Macclesfield orientated. It's for my grandparents, really. That's what it's for.
Brilliant.
But to see the stadium now is so good. It's so good. And they put a lot into it. And I guarantee there's someone around here that could do it for Stafford.
The thing is, like I say, that they need the board to actively go out and if they wanted to. Do
you think they care enough? I don't think anyone from Stafford is going to be listening to this podcast, if I'm honest.
Not really, no. Then, if you want me to be honest, no, I don't think they do. And the reason I did the fan survey, why I really pushed to get this done, was to highlight the things that the club aren't doing. And looking at the responses so far, we've probably got another week before we'll close the survey. But there's a lot of things like club communication through social media, the board's messages to the fans. A lot of these things are very, very high on the list of things that people want to see change, and we need to really market ourselves better. Fans have taken chance to try and start an uprising and to get people to leave the board, but you need momentum, you need people behind it. And at the AGM they just didn't get that, so maybe next year we'll see what happens. So
yeah, we're happy to help, to mention it on here. Make a couple of shorts or whatever to push them out. I mean, it might not go anywhere.
If you've got a multi-millionaire listening, that would be fantastic.
Do you know what? You never know. Do you know? Honestly, you never know. You never know who's listening.
There's a guy from Afghanistan that's listening.
We've got
brilliant.
Now I'll take you through all of this, right? But when you choose your podcast hosting site online, because you need a specific hosting site which you have to pay monthly for. And there's loads and loads and loads to choose from. But the one I've gone with specifically, when you go on listeners, it brings up a world map. Brilliant. And it shows you exactly where. I'll show you afterwards so you know exactly what I'm talking about. It brings up a world map, and there's like dark green if people have listened a lot from that particular area. So if you look at us and you look at the Midlands and London, very dark green because we get lots of listens from around there. And then there's one guy who seems to listen every week from Afghanistan. So I think we've got like 35 listens from Afghanistan, and he sort of started listening fairly early on.
That's brilliant.
And I think this one guy listens every week from Afghanistan. I kept saying to you two, no, he's still there. He's still this one guy.
I bet he does better on Who Am I than Nosper did.
Do you know what? It surprised me. But yeah, it's a lot of fun. And the thing is we have people saying to us, like the one thing about podcasting is the longer it goes, the more people are listening. And it's as simple as that. So the longer you go, and the more episodes you've got. Now, I believe most podcasts quit after 6 months. So you'll have, I think the stats that I looked at was there's about 260,000 podcasts started every month. And they reckon about 8% of them last beyond 6 months.
Wow, I see, yeah.
So like such a huge amount just go.
Yeah.
So people will look at your listings of your episodes. Like you'll go on to Amazon, Spotify, I don't know, Podbean, whatever you listen to your podcast on, you'll look and you'll look at us, And you go, "Fuck, they've only got 3 episodes." So there's no point in getting into it because they'll quit anyway. So
yeah.
Whereas now we've got 40. Well, now we've done one every single week. I've never missed a week. So I've released an episode every single week.
Yeah.
So we've literally, this is the 40th week we've sat in here doing this.
It's a milestone.
So we've been doing it 40 weeks now, and we have people come up. We get nice things said to us. "Oh, I love what you're doing. I think it's really cool. I think it's really great. Blah blah blah." And then you get the odd people going, "Oh, just give up. There's no point." And I'll reply to every one of them exactly the same. Like, it doesn't matter if nobody listens, because I've known him 20 years, you've known you 20, 21 years. I've known him, 16 years, 17 years? Tin Ribs, same as you, 20, 21. We all started at the same time at the football team.
That's right, yeah.
I'm like, I asked these to do this podcast with me because I never saw them.
Yeah, yeah.
So I'm like, I can get it sorted and set up. So we've got an excuse to turn around and say to the ladies, I've got to go because we're recording the podcast. That's the only reason it's on Facebook and YouTube, because if it wasn't, they'd go,
"Brilliant.
Where's your proof that you're even doing a podcast?
Yeah.
What are you doing on a Sunday?" So it's on YouTube, it's on Facebook, it's on Instagram, it's on TikTok. And they all know that it's there. So now we just say, "Well, Sunday we're going to have to go and do the podcast." It's an excuse because none of us drink, so we don't need to go to a pub and get pissed.
Yeah.
But we do want to spend time together, because you don't do it when you get older and you've got a family and you've got kids to look after and all the rest of it. So it's just an excuse for 3 guys that known each other years to get together and have a chat. And what do you talk about? We're all into football. We met because of football. I mean, I met you because of work, but then we soon got into football and playing football together. So we'll start a football podcast. We'll get together. We'll have a chat. We all support different teams, which helps.
Yeah, definitely.
So we've all got a different opinion about things. And so we can do this forever. And if in 10 years' time we've got 50 subscribers, we're still going to do it.
Because, exactly. You're still
so eventually someone will come across our podcast and they go, "Fuck, they've got 110 episodes, 120 episodes. I'll start listening to them because I know they're going to keep going."
Yeah.
Same with you guys. Like, to begin with, you will struggle to get listeners. You'll get your regular Stafford Rangers ones coming in because they'll want to.
Yeah, exactly.
But the one thing I'll say to you is, your email address that you come up with, make it short and snappy. No one wants to be filling in a long ass. If you say "contact us on this" and it takes you 20 minutes to read the email off, nobody's ever going to contact you.
Yeah, we'll bear that in mind.
So just, staffordrangerspod@gmail.com. Just something nice, short, snappy, easy to fill in.
Yeah.
Because originally ours was sundayleaguepundits@outlook.com, and I'm like, it's a bit of a mouthful, it's a bit of a ball ache to write down. So now we're just sundaypundits@gmail.com. It's shorter, it's quicker, it's easier. So I would say make your email short.
So you're giving me things, I'm locking them in here, thinking, right, okay,
get people involved, and like when I started, and I'm talking to these, and then I'm talking to friends around, I'm going, I'm going to start a pod. Most people that I spoke to begin, "What are you starting a pod for? It's pointless. What are you doing this for? What are you doing that for? What are you doing?" No one's going to listen. I'm like, I don't mind, so we can have a chat.
Yeah.
Whereas now, all them same people, "Oh, you've had guests now. Can I come on? I want to give my point on United. I want to give my point on Liverpool. I want to give my point on whoever else it is that they support."
Yeah, I can imagine.
Well, you all hated it to begin with, didn't you? Now you all want to be part of it.
Yeah, they want to come down for that football chat now.
The first guests that I get on, like yourself, are the ones that never said anything about it.
Yeah.
Like, say I'm starting a pod and you're like, "Oh, it's cool, that's great." So I'm like, okay, so you wanted to know how it was all done. So I'm like, well, the best thing to do is just come down and see it for yourself.
Yeah.
And this is how it is. It's pointless me telling you, because it wouldn't have meant as much. So I'm like, come down, give us your point. It gives us like chance to talk about Everton as well, because we've mentioned them a lot on the pod.
Yeah.
Like, Tin Ribs is not an Everton fan. It's really upsetting that you're here. When Tin Ribs is, we are going to have you back when Tin's here, because he's given some right shitty opinions on Everton.
I can imagine.
I think he blames Everton for Leeds being shit.
That generally is.
I think that's pretty much nail on the head. There'll be intricacies to it, but I think that's about the level of it.
Let's hope we don't take Nonto from them as well. Then it could get worse.
So I don't think he's too bothered about Nonto going now.
Somerville more,
He definitely doesn't want Somerville to leave. But yeah, so it's just a case of, if there's anything you need, just give us a bell.
Yeah, that's.
Let us know, and we'll get in touch. And as soon as you've set your socials up, we'll tag them into ours, and we'll give you a mention, and we'll get on with it. And
I think we'll be looking at over the next couple of weeks, and we've got this 3 of us who are looking at doing that. We'll look at getting Stafford Rangers players on or fans on.
See, that will always help as well.
Yeah,
because I've got ideas of people I want to reach out to see if they'll come on. But like I say, it's the setup that we've got. Is anyone really going to want to come here and sit and talk to us and like ex-Mac players or ex-Stafford players or whatever? You're better off like you'll probably have a room at Stafford Rangers.
We'll see. We'll see. I think ours is going to be a similar setup to how yours is, to be honest.
To start, and then
but then if it kicks off, then you can start leaning on the club a little bit afterwards if you start hitting a few numbers.
And that's the important thing. But the one thing that we really want to do with the podcast is because on the radio, we're as you mentioned, Joe, that slight bias towards Stafford Rangers, and we're supporting the club. On the podcast, we want to be able to have a little bit more free speech, which is why we sort of would incorporate the MPL division wider, and maybe some of the local clubs like Brockton, Town, Exeter, also when they've got their cup runs through the season. We'll look at those, but mainly focus on Stafford Rangers. And I don't want to really be able to not give my opinion on certain things. So like when I talk about the chairman, if I talk about the performance on the pitch from certain players, we want to be able to kind of have a more candid conversation about that.
And that's the thing. And there's basically,
it helps if you can disagree as well.
Because of certain things we've said on this pod, I'm not going to lie to you, I've Googled legalities of certain things. And basically, as long as you're not having to go at their character, you can pretty much say what you want. Like, if you've got an opinion on somebody's decision, you can say what you want. You're free to say whatever you want about that person's decision. As long as you don't go into their character, their race, colour, creed, all that sort of stuff, you're golden.
Yeah.
So if you think he's an absolute moron for this decision... He's not a moron. He's a moron because he decided to do this.
Yeah.
All good. It's golden.
That's fine.
So
I think the podcast will
can then sit there on a podcast and go, well, the chairman's decided to do this, and because of that decision, I think he's an absolute lunatic. No problem.
Yeah.
As long as you're not directly slagging him off, then you're all good. So you don't have to be as careful as you might think.
Yeah.
Because we've sailed close to the line. I've sailed close to the line a couple of times on it. Certainly like having a go at Arteta and Ryan.
We have said some people may not, some sort
well, we've gone in
sport people.
We've gone into certain like talking about Mason Greenwood. It's a knife edge.
Yeah.
But I'm just going to say what I think. But I don't care. I've got an opinion. I'm going to say what it is. And then basically my opinion on that is shut the fuck up. She said, I want no part of it.
Yeah.
He's innocent. Now, does he sound innocent? No. Did he look innocent? No. She's told me he's innocent. He's innocent. In the eyes of the law, the guy's innocent. So you have to look at it and go, you're just fucking stupid. If you're willing to put up with it, you're fucking stupid. But he's innocent. So let him get on with it. If he wants to play football, he can play football. There's nothing legally stopping him.
In half a way, he's stupid for staying with her because, in fact, she's ruined his life.
She's ruined...
Yeah.
He ruined his own life,
I was
but she's kind of made it public.
But if you're going to say somebody's done something and then you're going to take it back later...
And say, oh, no, he didn't do it.
She's also ruined her own, because now she can't live in the country where she was born.
Yeah.
So it's just one of them, isn't it? So we do sail close to the wind on certain topics that we go into. But I'm not going to go and call Mason Greenwood anything.
Yeah.
The only thing I'm going to call him is legally, he's innocent. Legally speaking. Whether anything else is up for debate, but legally speaking, he's innocent. So you can go into certain topics and you can say certain things. Just have to be a little bit careful about how you word it. But your opinions and all that, all good.
Yeah,
all good. Because you're entitled to it. You can think the chairman's stupid for doing this or doing that or doing the other, or that the keeper's an absolute moron because he came off his line when he shouldn't have done, or, there's certain little things.
Sounds like you've heard our podcast already.
We do it all the time in here. We've got tin ribs. He's having a go at everyone all the time. You sort of, there's a few players that you're not very keen on as well, isn't there, to be fair?
Yeah.
You've got your fair share of hit-listed players that you're not a fan of.
Yeah. I think the ITV Ref Watch got a bit...
Yeah, and then
I wasn't too keen on
there was that woman, wasn't there?
Uncle, the Champions League, Christina Uncle.
Yeah. You didn't like her much, did you?
No.
And he made it fucking crystal clear. Let me tell you.
You weren't the only one.
Not only did he make it crystal clear, but he made it crystal clear. every week.
Every time.
I'm glad she's no longer talking to us because I don't have to hear her name anymore.
Wait till the Champions League games next season, she'll be back.
And you'll always get someone going, "Why are you just sexist?" Well, no, because we've reeled off a name of about 6 women that we like listening to.
Southampton aren't in the Champions League, so whatever game I'm watching, it doesn't really matter.
To be fair, I'm never going to say, unfortunately, Arsenal in the Champions League. I'm quite happy we're in the Champions League, although we've got no chance of winning it. But it's nice to be there, and as long as we get through the group stage, I think I'll be happy with it this season.
Minimum expectation.
Minimum expectations to get out of the group. Maximum expectation, I'd like us to get to the semi.
Do you feel like Arsenal have to win a trophy this year? If Arteta honestly doesn't win a trophy again next year,
I mean, my feelings. I think Arteta's a failure anyway because he signed Raya and he signed, like, why would you go into a season? Okay, so your backroom staff think you need a striker. Your millions of fans around the world think you need a striker. Pundits all up and down the country and all over Europe, if only Arsenal had a striker. So you go out and you buy a keeper, you buy a right back, you buy a central midfielder, and then you buy another central midfielder that you're going to play as a striker. What a moron. What the fuck are you doing? What are you doing? Not only have you just worsened our goalkeeper by putting Flappy Bird in there, but you bought Celtics. You've bought Chelsea's joke of a striker and put him up front, albeit he was better at Arsenal than he was at Chelsea.
I was going to say, he was all right.
He was a lot better at Arsenal than he was at Chelsea. But why would you do that when Watkins is an Arsenal fan? I can't get my head round 65 million for Havertz when I think we'd have got Watkins for 70. And Watkins, for me, would have scored more than Havertz last season. He would have done Arsenal more favours than Havertz last season.
See, you look at Arteta and he bought David Raya, and your defence, in theory, on paper, got better. Whatever we go for in the record book, it's going to say Premier League Golden Glove, David Raya, Arsenal.
We're going to fall out. You know what I mean?
I know.
The defence, I said a couple of weeks ago that our defence should be knighted for getting that fucking loser a Golden Glove. Because that for me, that outdoes any.
But in 10 years, when we're going through the stats going forward,
nobody's going to care.
It's not going to show the defenders. It's just going to show his name.
It is just going to be David Raya.
Decorated in Arsenal's history forever.
Yeah, it's got in. I'm upset about it.
You talk about okay, he went out and bought X, Y, and Z and didn't buy the striker. It's not just him, is it? It's Edu as well. Is Edu your director of football?
Yeah, hopefully they're going to sack him soon because he's shit at it.
And then the conversations in between from them then to the board. Surely then, if I'm running the club, if I'm the chairman, and I can see, is he one of these people you're saying, everyone else can see they need a striker? Clearly your chairman didn't, who's gifting the money. Arteta's said something, he's gone and been able to say, no, we'll be okay. Jesus will be fit this season. He'll be able to score goals. And Nketiah, you've seen him last season, the way
this is not something I'm going to say very often. Let's enjoy it while it lasts. Yeah. In Edu's defence, it tasted like salt. Our owner is American. The fuck does he know about football? He calls it soccer, for fuck's sake.
Yeah.
So he's not going to look at our team and know what he's talking about because their best.
It's not just him.
Their best players
sat on the sofa.
Throw the ball for a living. I mean, Stan when he was there was fucking useless. Now his son's been given the reins, which is Josh Kroenke. Now he has been 100% more involved than Stan ever was. Right, so I will give him props for that. He's been there, he's at the stadium, and he does try and get involved, but he still knows fuck all about football.
But he must have a team of advisors who work alongside you.
You would hope so.
Of course.
You would hope so. I mean, they're billionaires, so you would hope they've got some sort of help somewhere. They've just spent £1 billion on the LA Rams, moving them back to LA and building them a state-of-the-art fucking sanctuary or whatever it is they've done. So you would hope that they've got a couple of quid to pay for somebody that knows what they're talking about. But that somebody that knows what they're talking about is not Edu.
No.
I like Edu and I loved him as a player. But as a director of football and someone that's purchasing players, he clearly doesn't know what he's doing because we need a striker. And we yet to buy one. And guess what? We had this conversation many, many, many weeks ago. Jesus is not a striker. He is a forward.
I know what you mean.
He's very hard working but not a goal scorer.
Yeah. Yeah, and
we need
he's not
Ian Wright,
either.
Thierry Henry.
I mean,
Alan
the one
Smith.
for me, Ivan Toney's there. Right,
They've slashed his asking price because nobody wants him as well.
They can't get rid of him at the moment. So
and they've already bought his replacement, by the way.
Yeah,
they've already bought a replacement for Toney, and now they can't sell Toney, so his asking price has been slashed.
They bought him in January.
Your issue is he's what, 29 now?
Now you see, I made an interesting statement on one of the groups that I'm in, and I said if the signings that we've made at Southampton are great so far, but I look at it now and I go, what do we need to stay up? So I'm like, we need to get Ramsdale in at whatever it costs, whether it buy him for 30 million or get him on loan for a season with an option to buy if we stay up, kind of.
Yeah.
So he's committed, so he can earn that contract like Taylor Harwood-Bellis did last year.
Yeah.
He had his transfer, but we had to get promoted, and he was well happy because he got promoted.
Yeah.
And
You were well happy as well because you really wanted him to stay.
Yeah, and then we need a striker to go there. Che Adams, good. I'm glad he's gone to Torino. Maybe he can do it in Serie A, but he's
not going to get.
I bet you're glad that he didn't sign for Everton, aren't you?
Oh yeah, I mean, we've got our own problems up front.
Because you were linked with him.
Yeah,
heavily.
Right. Yeah.
Speaking about Everton transfer, this has literally just come through to my phone now, so I'm glad that we've gone a little bit over what we should have done. Manchester United's bid to sign Jared Branthwaite from Everton may have been helped as the Toffees close in on securing the signature of Jake O'Brien from Lyon, because the talk is that it's a replacement, whereas you have already faced that up at the start of it.
So Alan Myers, who's a very respected journalist, has come out and said that. I mean, again, I don't know where you're reading that from.
That's from FOTMob. It's just come through on FOTMob. So I don't know who the journalist is.
Yeah, we'll see what happens.
Europe-wide, isn't it?
I'm not going to sit here and say that Branthwaite will definitely be an Everton player at the end of the transfer window, because anything could happen. We've sold Amadou Onana to Villa for a ridiculous amount of money. He's not worth the tenth of that. Very, very, very happy to
we were on about him. Well, we were linked with him at one point. I was a little concerned.
I was praying that United were going to come in and start a bidding war to get him themselves, because he's useless. He's absolutely useless. The stats for him playing for us and not playing night and day. We're a much better side. Obviously, when he's going to Villa, he played a very different style of football. But I've watched him play for Belgium, who are a possession-based side, and he's not. That Belgian side now is full of players that are a bit too Onana-ish and aren't at the level they need to be at. So we've got a bit of money, so I'm not too scared about when we're signing players like Jake O'Brien, who I do think will be a really good addition to the side. I think maybe he is Branthwaite's replacement, but not this season. I'm hopeful that the signing of him there, that's just a headline to real people in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, so where I was at, obviously,
with me.
We went with Ramsdale. So goalkeeper, absolutely. Without McCarthy, we wouldn't have got promoted.
Yeah,
hands down. McCarthy was superb at the end of the
season.
Yeah. He earned his new contract, 2-year deal. Great, deserves it fully. Yeah, it'd be nice if he got a I'd love to be wrong. I'd love him to start the Premier League and be on fire and be a top keeper.
Yeah.
He has got the experience, but the problem is, I remember watching him in net, and there's a reason we want a new goalkeeper. The rebounds and stuff where you're like, just parry it out of play or parry it wide. The amount of times
back into play,
it'd be back into play, and they'd score off a rebound. It was so frustrating and poor near post.
You were never happy with Bazunu anyway. You made that pretty clear on the podcast many times. A bit like me with Ryan.
We're linked with Celtic player O'Reilly as well. I don't really know a lot about him, but he's quite high regarded, and Celtic transfers have gone really well for us.
Yeah,
to be fair,
Van Dijk, Fraser Forster,
we had Tierney off him, and if he wasn't made of glass, he'd be a cracking signing because he's a brilliant left back. Tierney. We had them off Celtic, and if he wasn't made of glass, he'd be amazing.
I think the lad from Luton, Alfie Doughty, is probably he was brilliant last season in the Premier League, and he reminds me of Leighton Baines. Again, he can whip a free kick and whip a cross in. But Flynn Downs for you, I think that's one of the signings.
That was immense.
Yeah, it's a good signing.
I didn't think it didn't look like it was going to happen, but it has happened. I love the fact that we've done all the business early. We've never done it before. We're linked heavily with Brereton Diaz, who was at Sheffield United last season. Now
he looked good. He did when he played. He looked really good.
So he played 14 games, scored 6 goals.
Yeah.
Now in a Premier League
that's not a
season,
bad record in itself.
That's around about 14 to 16 goals in a full season. Yeah.
Yeah, but
and he's played.
And you're not going to tell me Saints aren't going to attack slightly more than Sheffield United did last season.
And who was his strike partner at Blackburn? Adam Armstrong.
Was it really?
Yes. So there's already the link-up play there.
Yeah,
I'd love us to go out
and two up front too many games though as well.
No,
Adam Armstrong will go out wide.
They can both play out wide. To be fair, Diaz has done that a few times.
Right, gents. I think we're going to call it because it's a lot longer than what we normally do. It's a long episode this week, but generally I don't edit it out.
Do you not?
Ours will just go out as they are.
Oh, brilliant! Okay.
Because we can.
Yeah.
Like however long it is, I can just put it out. So I tend not to edit it, and whatever we've talked about goes out, and people get to listen to it because I listen to a lot of podcasts. And it's cut here and cut there.
Yeah.
Some of them don't edit properly, and they'll be talking about something, and all of a sudden you go on to something else, and you're like, there was no transition between one and the next, and it's thrown me a little bit. So I just leave it all as it is, and it all goes out as it is. So what I'll do is just to finish, what I want to say is we will shortly be putting out links to your socials for your new podcast when you start that, which I'm desperately hoping is going to be called Where's the Badger, because there's certain websites that wouldn't be fitting on that aren't fitting for a football club. That'd be great. I'd love that. So yeah, that gets our seal of approval. Thank you very much for joining us, Craig. I really appreciate it, mate, honestly. Thank you for your time.
Been great. Thanks for having me.
And
cheers, Jamie.
We'll push your podcast when it comes out. No problem with that at all. We'll get you on all the socials and all that and link you in. And if you wouldn't mind sharing our fantasy football,
no, definitely. I'll get my team
I'll send you the link to all that. Like again, free to join in. It's free to be a part of. We're not asking anybody any money for anything. You just get the code, which I'll link below all the videos that we've got. Subscribe to the YouTube, because if you win, you're going to be messaging us on YouTube. Sneaky, because then I can check how long they've been subscribed for.
It gets it in. Yeah. That's brilliant.
So you'll message us if you win on YouTube, and we will reply to you on YouTube, and then we will go in some form of private message to send your address where we can send your shirt to, because there is a shirt of your choice, be it Stafford Rangers, be it Everton. Probably won't buy a Southampton one, because no one wants to waste their money, do they? Certainly won't be buying a Leeds one. But yeah, anyone else apart from Tottenham, we will be buying it and sending you your shirt out. They're free to get involved, so feel free to just join in, put the code in, join the league, try and beat us. But well, you've already beaten me because I'm shite at it, but Jim's pretty good. So thank you very much for joining us, Craig. Thanks again for joining us, mate. I really appreciate it.
Joining.
Thank you for coming, Jim.
No problem.
Thank you for making it.
Yeah.
All right. Cheers, Tinry. Oh no, he's not here, scumbag. So thank you very much, and we shall see you next week.